my game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. This gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Finish.
Winning has a price. And leadership has a price. So I pull people along when they didn't want to be pulled. I challenge people when they don't want to be challenged.
You ready to make history? Come on now. Yeah. You know, there's these 2 words. And when I say them, people get goosebumps because they know what happens next. So without further ado,
Free smoke.
look. Scared cause I'm drowning in silence with bad thoughts. These days I don't have nothing to say, man, the bag talks. I put in headphones on my driver. Pull up to the spot and give a good dick and Godiva. I can't lie, I'm uninspired. No more pillow talking about nonsense. I only stick around to put some band-aids on my conscience. I don't know why I feel so bad, nigga. That's what we do, no foundation. We don't build no more, we just screw. Half a bottle of Henny, girl, I'm going with the wind. The same niggas say they happy for me, ain't want me to win. So I'm done on my friends. Don't need help popping Coronas and reminiscing. I just call up Big Bro J and say it's time for venting. If I live forever, I hold this hate for some centuries. You don't know how much or how you doing what it meant to me, but motherfuck all that. I don't even offer up the time to make the call back. Stupid Lodo, if they don't get the picture now, man, I crop them out of the photo. I can't relate to my peers. Been doing this shit for years. I'm motivated by fears. I took the wheel and I steer. My sound not dictated by fuck boys in Atlanta. Stay gifted like this album was ghost written by Santa Bars forever, like they decided to throw me under Slammer. Every song's a hit like they picture me underhanders. I could drop 1,000,000 songs, but they never gon' understand us. Soapbox sermons for niggas never giving chances. Fight our whole lives to get these weak ass advances. Work twice as hard for the shit that they getting handed. And this ain't even nothing we chose, nigga, we branded. Still can't tell why all of these niggas mad at me. I'm trying to get 100 so I can put my team on salary. Give it all to the art, man, I turn my life to a gallery. Man, damn, what a fucked up masterpiece. 1,100 shots and I swear, man, I felt them all. If we ain't even good on our block, man, who can we call? Pre-decline state of mind, we broke crabs in the barrel. Got us fighting our folk, man, this shit just a life of peril.
I know you got him picked, but the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has happened. The Boston Celtics are headed home, bro. What? They ain't headed home. They was already at home. And they get to go home and enjoy their vacation. Listen, as I say multiple times, bro, it's nothing against it's nothing personal against the players. I have no problem with the players on the Boston Celtics. Aside from Marcus Smart, but I'm going to talk about that in a second. And I don't dislike Marcus Smart. It's just something that he do that I do not like. But I don't like the Celtics. I am a Laker till I die. All right? Fuck the Celtics. Now, how is everybody doing out there? Listen. I know I have not been on my game. I told you my brother passed away from cancer. That has been very difficult for me to deal with. I have never lost anybody that close to me in my life. Well, I've lost people that's close to me, but not as close as he was. Like, that was my closest person in life. So still maneuvering through this minefield, as John Legend and I hate that I forgot her name. These minefields that I walk through, oh, what I wish to be close to you. That song right there, that shit hard. I ain't gonna lie, that song is tough. When they start killing it at the end, oh my God, oh my goodness. Now this might be a mistake that I'm calling you this late, but these dreams I have of you ain't real enough. That is tough. That's a tough song. Y'all should check that out. It's called Minefields. But maneuvering and navigating through this minefield right now of losing someone that is the closest person to you in your life that's not your mother, if you have a great relationship with your mother and you're fortunate enough to still have your mother here. It's been difficult. We buried him last week. We sent him home. If you somebody who believe in heaven and hell, I would love to believe that my brother made it in We got to see those pearly gates, but regardless, we sent them home. And so, you know, I'm maneuvering that. So I haven't been on here like I should be, but I am back. I am back with the normal updated episodes. We're going to do a DeAndre Hopkins video later on this week. We got a finals preview coming up this week. I'm going to tell you right now, I will be recapping every single finals game. So you don't got to worry about me not. I'm going to recap every single finals game. Now, we got to talk about these Boston Celtics, man. This series is such a, this series amazes me. Okay. So Miami win the first 3 games. Now, listen, Miami, the 8th seed, that don't really matter to me, but I do want to say, you know, I got to put that on there because that's a historical type of thing what Miami done. So I understand they don't want to be called an 8th seed because they better than an 8th seed, but calling you an 8th seed just give you that much more clout, my guys. So I'm going to call you the 8th seed so you can get even more credit. But with that being said, the first 2 games in this series was in Boston. And they lost both games at home. How do you lose the first 2 games? This is why I don't trust Boston. And this is exactly why my complaint with Boston, or my critique with Boston, has remained the same. It has not changed from last year when they lost to the Warriors to this year. My problem with the Celtics has not changed. And it ain't Ime Udoka. I wanted to get on here so bad and make a video when everybody in the media was going so hard at Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla ain't got shit to do with why these Celtics lost this series. Joe Mazzulla, a young coach. Is he going to make mistakes? Yes. But he did a damn good job. Ime Udoka was a rookie last year. So I'm confused. You judging these dudes based off of the results in their rookie years rather than just letting them coach. The extreme of extremes was getting to the finals in his first year as the head coach of the Celtics. To try to then put that on Joe Mazzulla is ridiculous just because they got the same team. Competition get better. Teams don't stay the same even when you have the same rock. This is my same complaint when people keep saying the Warriors had the same team as last year. The Boston Celtics ain't. Bro, clearly y'all don't understand ball. Clearly. And I also want to real quickly address the Jaylen Brown saying, you know, we lost, we failed, you know, I failed, blah, blah, blah. Bro, you saying that is not going to make fans love you no more. This is what I'm saying. I'm so sick and tired of the players, you know, fucking, what do you call it? I can't even think of the word right now, but I'm so sick of the pandering to the fans, bro. Like, did you saying you failed and all that, did that make you feel any better after this loss? Do you think that made the fans feeling, oh, he admitted that they failed? Do you think that made you feel any better? That made them feel any better? Did it soothe this L? I just don't understand stuff like that. I really don't. That's why I'm so happy that Giannis said what he said. For one, it's not a failure unless you quit. So unless Jaylen Brown don't expect to come back next year with the same goal in mind. See, this is the thing I don't understand. One team wins every year. One team. It's not 2, 3, 4, 5. It don't work like that. So the chances of you winning a championship, no matter how good you have as a roster, is not guaranteed. The closest thing to a guaranteed championship team was when Steph and KD were on the same team. Is in my lifetime, that's the closest thing I done seen to a guaranteed Miami wasn't even a guaranteed championship when they first got together with LeBron and D Wade. So bro, y'all have to understand, just because a team got the same players, it don't mean they came back with I still remember to this day listening to Charles Barkley say one of the things that doomed that team is when they got to the finals and they lost. Everybody on the team came back thinking, I need more money. I should get more commercials. I should get more playing time. And that ruined the team. You don't think about stuff. And I understand a lot of y'all don't think about stuff like that because a lot of you've never played sports. And a lot of you who did play sports would never had any type of effect on the team, even on the lowest levels. So I get it. And I don't want to sound harsh and say things like that, but I get it. Because you don't have to play on an NBA level. Like I said before, I see athletes all the time, professional athletes, speak about sports and sound stupid. Just because you play the game don't mean you know the game. However, a lot of y'all who don't play the game say a lot of stupid shit. And that's all I'm saying. However, we're not here to talk about y'all. We're here to talk about these Celtics and these Heat. And it's a lot of praise to go around. So we're going to be giving out a lot of praise to Miami because Miami got it done. But to lose the first two games in your building, in the semis, in the conference finals, is unbelievable to me. But then to go down to Miami and lose the third game, that's kind of expected. But then to turn around and win the next, that's why I say this is a weird series. I don't remember the last time I saw a series where a team won the first three games and then proceeded to lose the next three games. That's insane to me. I cannot remember the last time I saw that. Like, bro, it wasn't I win two, then I win one. It was literally Miami won three and then lost three. That's wild to me. That's wild to me. Not to mention, both times, Miami lost 2 times at home in that 3-game lose streak. And so did Boston. This series made no damn sense. However, and you can look at it either way. If Miami had blown it after being up 3 games, it would have been crazy. If Boston, but we get to address Boston coming back from down 0-3 to tie the series, to then get listen, in the history of teams going down 0-3, they've never come back in the conference. But listen, none of those teams that forced the 7 games got the 7th game at home, except for the Boston Celtics. And they got smacked. Just dusted. And I can already hear the excuses. Jason Tatum was hurt. Jason Tatum got hurt on the first play of the game. I'm very irritated with that. If he was so hurt, don't play. I'll give you that excuse if you don't play the rest of the game. But you don't get it both ways, where it's like, oh no, but he had to play because it means so much. Well, it can't mean that much and you play, but then you play like shit and we criticize you, but I was hurt. Well, you shouldn't have played. Because there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. If he hadn't played, I would have said he was injured. However, it should have never got to this anyways. And that's the problem that I don't think a lot of Boston Celtic fans and people around the media is realizing. It should have never got to this. Boston is a better team on paper, but that's why the games are played on the court, not on paper. But Boston been the best team in the league, in my opinion, roster-wise, for probably the last 2 to 3 years. And they only done got 1 finals appearance to show for it, and they lost in the finals, once again, 2 postseasons in which they lose 6+ games at home. At home. I hate the Celtics. But to lose as a Boston Celtic in the Garden. Well, actually, let me change that, because the Garden is Madison Square. Even though I know we call that the Mecca in the Garden. To lose at TD Gardens. In front of the Leprechaun. Lucky. Ain't been too lucky these last couple decades, eh? Listen, it's disgusting. And I don't blame Joe Mazzulla. I blame the crew that's done been there the last couple years. The main guys. Listen, I'm going to celebrate Miami in a minute. But it seems to me that the Celtics just won't fix this very, to me, clear problem. I don't know why the Celtics shoot as many threes as they shoot. Because they don't have a single knockdown 3-point shooter on their roster. They got a lot of athletes who can shoot the 3, especially when they get hot. They got a lot of dudes who can go on heaters. They don't have a Klay Thompson on their team, or a JJ Redick on their team, or Kyle Korver on their team. They don't have that type of shooter on their team. Marcus Smart take about 15 shots a game, it feel like. It's no shot Marcus Smart should be taking that many shots a game. Jaylen Brown take about 20+ a game. It's no shot on a championship team. You want Jaylen Brown taking that many shots. And when it comes to Jason Tatum, you confused as if he is a 1 or a 2 at this point. and I said it last year, and I'll say it again. The inconsistencies in big games for Jason Tatum is why it's hard to determine if he is a 1 or a 2. Sometimes he'll give you a great game, but if you give him 3 big games to play, he probably only going to have 1 big game out of those other 3. Now, I don't actually think Jason Tatum is the problem, believe it or not. His inconsistencies to me can be explained. The Celtics' refusal to move off of Jaylen Brown is a problem. I understand you drafted him. I understand you nurtured him. You helped him grow. You helped him become the player he is. He an all-NBA player now. I get all that. For one, he ain't an all-NBA player in the West. That's 1. 2, he is no longer, bro, you done see, I personally, and you might not agree with this, the Celtics to me have hit their ceiling last year. That's why I said after last year, they should have made trades, including Jaylen Brown. I didn't need to see them get back to the finals with this same team to be proven wrong. The ceiling was hit last year because of how they played and how they continuously play, and it didn't change this year. You tried to blame Joe Mazzulla. For one, it wasn't the same defensive team that it was last year. That naturally is going to happen. But on top of that, this team with 2 players who can go get you 30, one player can cleanly get you 30. The other one usually got to be on a real heater to get you a clean 30, but most of the time he's taking a lot of shots to get it, and that's Jaylen Brown. You got 2 dudes who, if they ever do it, they rarely do it, and that's play great at the same time. What does that mean, Saint? That mean when the first quarter happened, Jason Tatum give you 6, Brown give you 8. Jaylen Brown give you 10, Tatum give you 12. That mean the defense had to try to account for both of them at the same time. In the second quarter, one of them might have the stronger quarter, where it's one dude shining and the other one taking a break because you play him on the bench. But for the majority of the game, the Celtics never have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum going off at the same time. It's always either Jaylen Brown going off and Jason Tatum watching, or Tatum going off and Brown watching. And that is a problem. And until they figure, and I'm at the point where I keep saying until they figure out, I don't think they're going to figure it out. Not because they can't, not because they're not intelligent enough, because of the limitations in Jaylen Brown's game. Jaylen Brown done been forced to be the second best player on this team, so he get to take number 1 player type of shots a lot of the times. And I'm not telling you that that's the player he is, but that's the position he done been put in. But Jaylen Brown is not a knockdown shooter. He not somebody who can create real space to give Jason Tatum clean looks all the time, to get Jason Tatum clean room to operate all the time. You got 2 big men on the floor to clog up the lane who can't shoot, aside from Al Horford when he on the floor, because you don't really play the Williams dudes together. Al Horford is older, though. He's not really a great defender unless you get to let him make him stationary. You got Marcus Smart on the floor, who, yeah, he do a lot. He a great defender, but he off and on shooting wise, and he take too many shots. And you could avoid all this if you traded Jaylen Brown for a legitimate, for one, I don't understand not going out and getting a legitimate point guard to set guys up. Like a Chris Paul. I'm not saying go get a Chris Paul. I'm saying a point guard like a Chris Paul that could dribble the ball up the court. Because I don't think that Jaylen Brown can't dribble. I just think when the game gets intense and defenses start to pressure him, he lose the ball too much. He make fast decisions that don't make sense a lot of times. And he been doing that for a while now. And Jason Tatum do it too, but he just not as free. It don't look as bad with Tatum because I don't even know why it don't look as bad as Tatum, because it do look bad, but it just don't look nowhere near as bad as when Jaylen Brown doing it. And I guess it's because people know he not as good as Tatum, but nonetheless it's bad because Tatum had a hell of turnovers last year in the playoff run. That is a problem. Marcus Smart is not setting dudes up the way that a true point guard is. Boston not going out and trading either Smart. I cannot understand this for the life of me. Tatum is clearly the only dude on that team should be untouchable. Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, and the other Williams dude. I actually would say the Williams with the locks, I wouldn't trade him either. I think he is a phenomenal defender. He can't score to save his life, and that's kind of a problem. But he is a hell of a defender. Like a hell of a defender. The only downside to him being as great a defender as he is, what did it do for them in this series? He blocked Jimmy Butler like 13 times in all in this series. Jimmy Butler still did what he needed to do to win this series. But I think Robert Williams, because Grant Williams is the one I would trade. Robert Williams is the one I would keep. But if I could get something great for him, I would trade him too. The only untouchable is Tatum. Derek White and all these other dudes, Malcolm Brogdon became basically unplayable in this series. I don't understand why you continue to lean into 3-and-D guys when you have so many of them on the roster already. And I say that with a slight because, or I say that where you could say, well, that's kind of a reach. I know, because they don't shoot the three as great enough individually for me to really be calling them 3-and-D guys. But that's just that's what they choose to use as their number one scoring option. They shoot a bunch of shots and they pretty good defensively. But none of them is really tall guys, like wing guys. They just, it's basically what the Celtics done invested in. And I don't understand for the life of me how you don't try to make a trade for Damian Lillard. A true point guard who can go score for you at a far more consistent clip than Tatum and Brown, who not only can give you a legitimate shooter, because you got a lot of scorers right now. Lillard is not just a scorer. He is a legitimate shooter who is also a scorer. He ain't a scorer who just so happened to be able to shoot from time to time. He's a shooter who's a lethal scorer. He's a lethal shooter and a lethal scorer. I'm not going to say he's Steph Curry because I know Steph Curry fans going to go wild. Steph Curry is the ultimate of that. Kevin Durant is the ultimate of that. Dudes who can score and shoot the ball. That's what they need. Jaylen Brown can score, but he's not a great shooter. I don't even think Jaylen Brown a good shooter. I think he's a streaky shooter. And the problem with dudes who are streaky is the streak may come and it may go. But they come at the worst fucking times. So to me, the Celtics, and I understand people who say, oh, well, he's so good, you can't just trade him away. Well, you're going to keep hitting this ceiling. Because Jason Tatum got another level he can go to. But he can't get to that other level if you don't put the proper players around him. I understand. And this is what I don't understand. It's like you see what they can be. It's like they don't say to themselves, okay, if we make this move right here. Remember the Raptors. That's a perfect example. They traded DeMar DeRozan to get Kawhi. And that put them up. Now I know people gonna be like, oh, if the Warriors weren't hurt. It don't matter. They won a championship when they went all out to go get Kawhi. That's what the Celtics need to go do. And I'm not trying to give Celtics advice. Obviously, I don't want to help the Celtics. But you're going to keep running your head into this wall and being concussed if you keep trying to play this shit the same way. In my opinion. You just lost to a team that had one superstar on it. And in my opinion, a bunch of role players, because I don't even consider Bam Adebayo as a superstar. Shout out to the big dumper Kyle Lowry. That's my guy. Shout out to I forgot my man's name. The twin. He got a twin brother that used to play for Charlotte. He balled out in this series for Miami. I'm gonna get his name by the end of the show. But for the Celtics, to me, it's very simple. It ain't no coaching change that need to happen. It's a roster change. Ime Udoka couldn't get him over the top. Stevens couldn't get him over the top. Mazzulla couldn't get him over the top. How many times you gonna keep blaming coaches for this roster not being able to? And I don't really like that, these coaches, because I actually think Boston had 3 great head coaches. The problem to me is clearly Boston not being able to come through when it mattered the most. And that's on the players, not on the coaches. Bro, it's so weird to me that y'all give coaches no credit or too much blame. Like, some of y'all don't think coaches matter when that's clearly stupid. Steve Kerr mattered. Joe Mazzulla, Brad Stevens, Ime Udoka, they matter. Doc Rivers, all these different, Eric Spoelstra, Popovich, these coaches matter. But then you turn around and say, Well, you know, it's all the reason they lost is it's all on the coach. What more can Missoula do this year that that would have made up for the players not showing up? What more could Ime Udoka had done last year to make up for the players not showing up? Marcus Smart won Defensive Player of the Year last year and proceeded to watch Curry average basically 40 fucking points in the finals. What the hell Ime gonna do about that? And for Brad Stevens, y'all love to say, oh, players young, they young. Well, they was young when he had them. So I'm confused as to when we gonna put the blame on the players. When is it gonna be on the players to step up? Now, with that being said, I'm also putting it on the GM because I think it's on the players and the GM. Now that's on Brad Stevens now as a GM. But it's hard for me to blame the GMs, man, because I don't know if this is a decision that's coming from up top to not trade away Jaylen Brown. Like if you could have moved off of Jaylen Brown to get Kevin Durant last year and didn't, that just don't make sense to me. It don't make sense to me to not move off of Jaylen Brown to get a lot of legitimate, pure shooters who are top tier scorers also. I don't get it. I think a Trae Young trade would make sense to me. You play good enough defense to where you don't need Trae Young to be a superstar defender. Marcus Smart can play on the floor at the same time as Trae Young. Not to mention, Trae Young gets others involved. He is a legitimate point guard who will understand how to get others involved. He ain't just pitching out these assists off a last second throat pass outs and shit. He actually know how to get offenses going. And he a legitimate lethal shooter who's a legitimate lethal scorer. Trae Young makes so much sense. And Lord knows I don't want to see my guy Trae Young play for the Celtics. Lord knows I don't want to see him on the Celtics. But that would make a lot of sense. I said it last year. The Celtics should not be going into this move as they need to be able to play defense. You play good enough defense as a team. You have to at some point in time be willing to sacrifice. The Warriors were willing to make a sacrifice playing Jordan Poole last year, even though he don't play defense. Because you need those points. You good enough team defense wise to where you have to sacrifice a defensive player to be able to make up the point differential. Until Boston is willing to do that, they're going to keep hitting their head on this same ceiling. Because you're not getting it done with Jaylen Brown and I'm not taking a shot at Jaylen Brown. But to me, Jaylen Brown is nowhere near the player that Jason Tatum is. That's one. Two, I don't think Jaylen Brown is an all NBA player. I think he was because he was in the West. In the East. Three, it's no shot that you think Jaylen Brown is even probably a top 15 player. But he looked like that with the Celtics, which is for some reason making them not go out and legitimately make a move to improve this roster. And until they do that, they will continue to hit their head on this ceiling. Now, shout out to Miami. Unbelievable coaching by Eric Spoelstra. Unbelievable play by the Heat. Now, a weird series, to be honest, with the Heat, because the Heat probably lose a series like this against a team like the Denver Nuggets if they put forth that type of bad effort in them last 3 games. And really, a lot of dudes didn't even show up in the 7th game. If not for Caleb Martin, I told you I was going to remember his name, and Jimmy, you probably lose that game. Oh, and with the help of the Celtics being so inconsistent. That's really great. I'm taking nothing away from the Heat. But the Celtics that's pathetic, to be honest with you. However, Bam have to be better. When Bam is aggressive, they win. Point blank, period. I do think Bam need to get with somebody in the offseason and develop a post game. It's just the reality is people defend Bam a certain type of way right now because they know he don't got a post game. They know he not really aggressive, and they know he not really, unless he getting easy, like very easy looks that's really uncontested, they know he really not going to be a scoring threat in these big games. And you have to change that. You have to force people to put an effort on Bam at all times so Jimmy can have even more space. Jimmy lucked up in this series with the space he got because Caleb Martin came to the rescue. Caleb Martin shooting the ball as great as he did is what allowed Jimmy Butler to get the spacing that he ended up getting and be more aggressive. Kyle Lowry gonna have to be better. The big dumper. He gonna have to be better in the next series in order to get more spacing. See, that's what the NBA is. If you can give your best players space to operate, you give yourself a chance to have a pretty great offense. It's when you start, and I know we talk about all these undrafted players on Miami, but they have to continue to play great. They have to hit their shots. Because when the moment they start to miss shots, that's when the game get clogged up. Jimmy don't really have the space to operate. And that's going to be tough because you got Jokic coming up. Jokic is a walking triple-double. And I do think Miami can win this series. I'm not going to break down the series right now, but I do think Miami can win this series. And I'm going to talk about more of Miami and giving them more praise in the video where I break down them and the Nuggets. And don't worry, because that's coming up shortly. But this video was really to talk about the Celtics, but Murray and Porter can lose you a game. I am still firm on that belief. Just as much as they can help you win a game, they can help you lose a game. And if Miami can capitalize on those opportunities, Miami can give themselves an opportunity to win this series. Like, I'm not counting out Miami in this series. How could you at this point? And I understand how much I done raved about Denver. I truly believe Jokic is the best player in the NBA right now. But they can lose this series. I done seen Denver have bad shooting nights. And a team like Miami that's going to get them far more fight than the Lakers just gave them. Because I'm disgusted that the Lakers got swept and the Boston Celtics was down in the same position and they fought back to a game 7 and we couldn't even fight to a game 5 or 6. But that's neither here nor there. The Celtics, the Miami Heat, if they done shown you anything, every team they done beat, except for probably the Knicks, and even the Knicks to an extent, was on paper better than them. But you can't play the games on paper. They'll come into this game, once again, the underdog, on paper. But you got to play these games. And the defense that Miami can put forth on Jamal Murray and Michael Porter, and I already said it, to me, you know, as much as people rave about Murray, I truly think the Denver Nuggets is at their best when Bruce Brown, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Jokic is on the floor at the same time. When those three dudes is on the floor at the same time, it's just seamless offense. They just know how to play off of Jokic so well. They're not demanding the ball. They don't get selfish with the ball. They know exactly what to do with the ball when Jokic is on the floor with him. He don't got to, you know, tell them exactly what to do all the time. He ain't got a point and all this. It's just seamless. But Miami can still win this series. I don't want people thinking Miami can't win it. Well, if you just ain't learned your lesson by now, then fuck it. But with that being said, I appreciate y'all for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Tell somebody you fuck with him. Tell somebody to love him. Listen, you could be anything in this world. Choose to be kind to somebody today. Look to your neighbor and say, neighbor, I love you. I appreciate you. And if nobody else tell you that today, I'll tell you it today and again tomorrow. Saint out.
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, you know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy. Scoop her up like I'm raking her something. You would think shawty red track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber. You out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home. Hey.